Well, since his return to the presidency, Donald Trump has been fighting DEI in all its forms, a movement he believes is a scourge on American life. So what exactly is it?
We have the hottest country in the world, and the whole world is talking about it.
On the weekend, Donald Trump spoke to graduates of West Point Military Academy, covering an ironically diverse range of topics.
He won 168 golf tournaments. The great, late Alphonse Capone. Would you say a trophy wife? I guess we can say a trophy wife.
But it was this part that made the headlines.
We've liberated our troops from divisive and demeaning political trainings. There will be no more critical race theory or transgender for everybody forced onto our brave men and women in uniform, or on anybody else for that matter in this country.
Yes, the most imminent war these military graduates may have to worry about is the one their Commander-in-Chief is waging against three little letters.
DEI, DEI, DEI.
If you're wondering what DEI is, I'll let political reporter Rachel Scott explain in what may have been the moment Donald also learnt what it is.
How do you define DEI? Go ahead. How do you define
diversity, equity, inclusion?
Okay, yeah, go ahead. Is that what your definition?
That is
give me a definition then. Would you give me a definition
DEI.
of that? Give me a definition.
Sir, I'm asking you a question, a very direct question.
Define it for me if you
I just defined it, sir.
To many, diversity, equity, inclusion programs are all about addressing historical disadvantages of people based on their race, religion or gender. To Trump and his supporters, it's a dangerous social experiment, forced mandatory quotas that elevate the unqualified in the name of
the woke crap.
Which is why, within hours of returning to the White House, Donald Trump signed an order revoking DEI practices across the entire federal government.
Many of his base supporters feel displaced, attacked, demeaned by what they see as an over-reverence of Black culture. And so this is a political move, in my view, by President Trump, but it's very, very deep with his audience.
Government agencies were told to put DEI staffers on paid leave, take down DEI-themed web pages, and cancel DEI-related training. But MAGA World had one particular arm of the government firmly in its sights.
Any general that was involved, general, admiral, whatever, that was involved in any of the DEI woke shit, it's got to go.
The DEI purge was comprehensive. The Department of Defense flagged thousands of photos and posts for deletion, ranging from Black military pilots to Women's History Month to the World War II plane that dropped the atomic bomb on Hiroshima. Why that last one? It was called Enola Gay.
That's how lazy they were with this. They just Control-F'd for gay-sounding keywords and deleted anything that showed up.
Companies afraid of losing their government contracts or even just afraid of getting on Trump's bad side wasted no time. McDonald's, Walmart and Facebook's parent company Meta among those that quickly stripped away diversity targets.
Other companies have programs around gender and diversity commitments because of lawsuits that they lost. So they can't just abandon them because Donald Trump would say, get rid of all of this. But we're going to have to see how that goes.
But similar moves in the education sector have been less successful. An online portal for members of the public to report DEI practices was spammed with Simpsons jokes and movie quotes. And federal courts have also stepped in.
The judge has temporarily blocked the president's push to end diversity, equity, and inclusion efforts in our public schools.
But this is unlikely to thwart Trump's efforts. Some suggest the modern political war is no longer left versus right, but woke versus unwoke. And with DEI policies the manifestation of that battle, the fight seems unlikely to stop anytime soon.
Wow.
A lot going on.
Okay, when the pendulum swings back, it swings back harder.
Yeah.
Too hard, obviously, but is it just an overreaction that will then right itself?
Well, I don't
know.
The tricky thing is, we're talking about Donald Trump and that's always hard, because he does this thing where he takes something that might actually be a mainstream or fairly widely held concern by people of good faith.
Yeah, which is that there's been an overreach on behalf of DEI.
And here we need to be careful because there's affirmative action and quotas and things like that, which companies might have for all sorts of reasons.
Right.
And then there's DEI as this thing that grew out of it that sometimes takes a form that even people of good faith just found a bit over the top and exhausting and felt like they were being shamed, right? And it could be like being trained on doing all these online modules and whatever. And actually, there's research to show that some of those modules actually make people's attitudes worse rather than better. Yeah. There's all this sort of stuff that not just you, that entered the corporate world. That sort of. But then the thing is, what Donald Trump does is he goes, all right, I'm going to take this thing, I'm going to run with it. And so he's turned it into not only are we not going to have compulsory diversity, but I'm just going to sack anyone who's black, even if they're qualified, and I'm going to put in this white guy who's not qualified and see it's all fine. And then you get just bizarre outcomes like this.
And surely they can't be sustainable, but...
Well, it's interesting what the military wants.
Yeah.
Yes.
Because the military is like the NBA. Where's the diversity, equity, inclusion there?
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. We've got to take a break.
3 years to go.